Hi, my name is Zach Miller, and inside of this course, we're going to be learning how to develop, install, launch your WordPress website in under 60 minutes. So, we're going to be going a little fast, but it's also just to show how easy everything really is. So, if you haven't had your own website or you're trying to transition to an easier content management system, such as WordPress, which is the easiest in the world. If you're doing any of these things, you want to, cut expenses, not pay your designer, hundreds of dollars and make it take weeks of time just to get changes implemented inside of your website. You want to be able to optimize your website. You want to make sure that your website is safe from hackers. All of these great things, I'm going to be showing you how to do all of this in 60 minutes. So just follow step by step and you're going to have a website in the next hour. Awesome? If so, join this course. You're going to love it. Now, when it comes to buying a domain name, sometimes you may not have a domain or you're looking to get another one. If so, this is where you can get it, Namecheap. Namecheap is absolutely the least expensive, and it may cost a little bit more than some others, but if you're going to renew these year after year, these websites, this is the cheapest renewal place by far, bar none. I've done plenty of research on this, buying really like 250, 300 domains in my 10 years online. I've done a lot of research for domains, so I know what I'm doing. Namecheap's the best. That's what I use. You just simply type in your, business name or whatever you want to register. They're going to give you every single option there absolutely is. Obviously, they're going to suggest the top level domains .com, .org, .net. But this is where you go in order to buy your domain. Once you've bought it, I'm going to show you how to connect the hosting that you're going to buy and the domain that you just bought. And we're going to connect those together so that the domain's pointing towards the hosting, and now the hosting can host your material content to the rest of the world, and that's how that works. All right, so the first place that we're going to begin, if you do not already have a website, you probably don't have a host, and a host is something that you need in order for them to be able to serve your content to anyone in the world. You have to have a hosting server, so that way, again, you can serve your website, your content. With that being said, most people obviously aren't going to have a DIY server inside of their house. It's better just to pay someone, usually just a few bucks a month to get started. And then once you become a mega corporation, maybe you're NYC Times, you're going to then be paying maybe about $500 to $2,000 a month. But of course, you're in $1 million business. So hosting in that sensibility is scalable. So we want to buy it rather than try and make it ourselves, especially if we only have a few websites or even one. So what we're going to do is I prefer HostGator, all right, for my hosting personally. The reason why, they have the absolute most inexpensive hosting basically that I have ever found. And if you get a Black Friday special, or if you go to zach-miller.com/HostGator, HostGator, I do ask that you go through there. Any coupons that are running at that time, it's going to be applied, redirect you, and it's also going to offer you the least expensive website hosting, which, as you can see right here, $3.95 a month. That's the new special they got going on. I think myself, I pay $9, but when you go through an affiliate link like that, again, you get more reasonable, just naturally because there's coupon codes established with it. And sometimes they'll even have 1 penny hosting, which is pretty cool. But either way, $4 a month. Who cannot afford that? I mean, so much. It's going to be very valuable. So I go to HostGator. Just type that in if you want. Don't want to use my affiliate URL. If you do, again, just go to zach-miller/HostGator, and that'll go through the affiliate link. Otherwise, outside of other additional networks, you have one hosting, or you could just type in website hosting. WordPress.com is a host itself for websites. You have GoDaddy, you have all types. Dream Network, there's Dream Servers, Dream Hosting. I forget what the exact LLC is, but there's literally 101 hosts that you can go to. My one thing is, go to a big one, because if you choose a very inexpensive host for maybe 50 cents or $1 a month, they're not going to have what's known as a white IP. A white IP has not been spammed, doesn't have bad or illicit pharma, sex, drugs, or all these other rigorous things that Google presses for to keep out of their search engines. If you go on a server that's previously had that data before, you're going to rank lower in the search engines, and that is it's just the worst thing that could ever happen, because you didn't want to pay $2 more a month, and now you have $2,000 more of work to perform. So that's why I say just go to HostGator. That's what I use. That's what I love. I host like 50 plus websites on here. At one time, I used to host 200 websites and have my own VPS on HostGator. So I know them, I trust them, I like them. If you want to just skip all the reviews and all the research you could do for this, just use what I use. That's the simple thing. So with that being said, let's go ahead and head into the HostGator hosting. So it's going to look like this. You're going to go to something, it's going to be Gator, some random digit or number.hostgator.com, and you're going to log in right through there. When you do this, this is what your backend's going to look like. This is called a cPanel. And inside your cPanel, we're going to be able to do a lot of cool things, from creating email accounts to creating subdomains to installing WordPress quickly. There's a million and one things, but I'm going to show you real quickly how to get this all set up, all right? All right, so here I am. I've just purchased a domain name, salesfunnelsecretsbook.com. What I'm going to do is go to the domain list, click into manage this information, and then I'm going to look for the name servers. The name servers can be found inside your hosting, whether you're one-in-one, DreamHost, HostGator, whatever. You're just going to type in name server, find that on the page. So there you can see that's highlighting it right there. Primary name server is NS8351. So we're going to go over here, NS8351 HostGator, insert that, save it. And then within a few moments, that's going to connect. You're going to be able to come over here to domains. You're going to click add on domain. From your add on domain, you're going to take this domain name right here, Sales Funnel Secret Book, or whatever you registered, yourwebsite.com, and you're just going to add that in here. And then you're going to click add domain. Once you add that domain, it's going to be added down here to all the other websites that you can now build upon. It's created a folder inside the server so that you can start adding pictures, images, your WordPress files, your installation files, your plugins, all that. It needs to have a folder that it registers with. So this right here, your Namecheap or your register, whether it's GoDaddy or anywhere else, you're getting the name server, you're taking that information, putting it in here, saving it. Once that's been saved, you're just going to simply go into add on a domain, add it in, add the domain, you're all set. From there, you're going to come up to File Manager. That's usually what it is inside of every cPanel, File Manager, and you're just going to go through and look after finding that domain right there, salesfunnelsecretsbook.com. And you can start editing it in the back end, but I'm going to show you, of course, next how to install WordPress. All right, so I want to quickly show you how to create an email account. You're going to go to email accounts, come over here, and say we're going to make one that's at contact@SalesFunnel. So we're going to type in contact, then Sales Funnel Secrets Book, change it to that, whatever the password we want is, password, there you go. It's obviously pretty weak. Unlimited, so that way it doesn't get to a max quota and emails get rejected. Then you're just going to click on create the account. From that point forward now, you have an email address that can accept incoming mail, so that way you can reply back to it in any way that you see fit. Okay, now installing WordPress is very easy. Inside of cPanel, you're going to have something called Quick Install. You're going to go and find that under the Software tab. We're just going to simply click on that. Once we click on that, it's going to ask us a few options. What types of CMSs would you like to install? There's Joomla, there's WordPress, there's all types of things. We're going to click on WordPress, and then we're instantly going to find the domain that we're looking after, which is Sales Funnel Secrets Book. If we want to install it, say, as just a blog, not as a website, as just a blog, then we would install it in a directory such as that. But for the sake of a website, a WordPress website is not just a blog. It can be a blog and an entire website, and it can do sales and e-commerce. And a WordPress website is everything. Just think of it as the platform from which you build everything, from your base in which you grow. So we're going to install it here at Sales Funnel Secrets Book. We're going to click next. And then once we do, it's going to go through, prompt us for a few more things. We're going to click yes. It's then going to give us some logins, usually an admin name and a password. Make sure that you save that in a specific spot so that you can come back to it later, because we're going to need that to log in now that our Sales Funnel Secrets Book is installed. When it is installed, it's going to allow you to actually go to Sales Funnel Secrets, secrets book, and we're going to go to WP-admin. When you go there, this is going to be your login page from now on to get into the administrator features of your website, as you see here. So when you have that, then it's going to give you all those usernames, the passwords, keep that in a safe spot, and your WordPress website is already installed. Now the issue is going through and customizing it. I'm going to show you how to do that as well. Okay, so I skipped over the process of creating the username and, filling out a little bit of the site info, but here we are. Installation's absolutely complete. When you press login, you're going to end up here, and that's going to ask you what type of website you'd like to set up. It really doesn't matter whether you go for business or personal. It's just going to take you through a few options, like adding in your social medias, taking your business name versus your personal name if you'd like to have multiple authors, things like that. So all I'm going to simply say is I don't need help right here. We're just going to kind of go through it in a very quick momentum of 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm just going to kind of explain everything for you here. Again, I'm going real quick because I want you guys to be able to customize your website and get going, because when you customize, you're going to spend more time in that than you should in installing WordPress, installing your plugins, getting your SEO right. All of that should take about 60 to 90 minutes, but I'm doing it in 60 because we're doing it real quick. So here we see the WordPress database is out of date. These are things that you'll naturally need to do inside when plugins, naturally get updated, so that way they are patched up for viruses or malware holes. So you're just going to click on that, say, hey, yeah, please update me now. It's going to take you to the screen. And as you can see here, here's a few things that you might already have to update for these plugins. You just click there, update the plugins. It'll naturally do that as well. You would click there to update the WordPress version. I do make sure that you do back up your website for WordPress. You can often do that via a plugin from WordPress. We'll get into that as well. But do that before you do updates for the WordPress, as a system update. Like we're updating to 4.9.1. I'm at technically 4.9. So when I do that update, I want to back up my website to make sure I don't lose anything, nothing accidentally goes awry. Sometimes that happens. It's very, 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 very rare, but you don't want to be that rare case, because that could be you having to work for 4, 5, 6 hours trying to get back your lost data, or having to hire a coder to do this for you, and it may cost 100, 200, 300 bucks. So just back it up. It's a simple button click and you're done. So outside of that, this is where you update things, and this is kind of the front end of WordPress. Now let's get into the actual blog side. Okay, so now I'm going to go into how to create and add things to your blog. Now, when it comes to your blog and your articles, I'm going to kind of cover how to optimize an article properly, but my goodness, I could cover about 15-20 minutes worth of information on just that. And that's optimizing each article. There's alt tags, there's bolding keywords, there's underlining. We're going to install plugins as well, but I'm going to come back to that. Just necessary for you to know that the post page is basically where all of your blogs are. So if you want to add a new blog post, you're going to click into posts, add new, and then you're just going to type whatever you want to write on your mind, like it's a blog or a journal, and that's it. You can add media, which will let you add images. You can add forums, which will allow you to ask questions, take surveys, collect information. You can change and create headings. So if I were to say hello here, and then I took a heading, took heading 1, obviously that's going to increase it. I can bold it, italicize, underline. There's all types of things that I can do inside of here, including creating links, having a block quote, all types of different stuff. So inside of here, like I said, this is where your blog posts will end up showing up. Now, when it comes to creating maybe like your store or your home page, or editing about us, or a contact page, that's going to be inside the pages area. All right, the pages is in a sense a page of your website, not just like the blog where all of these articles that you've written, it's your warehouse of information and study and case studies and things like that. Your pages are literally like a contact us, about us, an FAQ, terms and conditions, an affiliate agreement, a store, a blog. So I'm going to show you a few things here, and we're just going to add a couple new pages. So the one I'm going to have here, I'm going to name this blog. We're going to publish it. I'm going to have this one named home. We're going to publish that as well. And then what that's going to do is allow us to then select where we want to show our posts, which will be the blog, and where we want to show our homepage, which will be the home. So again, it's kind of identifying which is which. Now, with that being said, you can also edit any comments that may come up inside of here. Here's an example one. You can unapprove them, reply to them, edit them, spam them, or trash them. This is obviously nothing we want, so we'll go ahead and spam it, and it's done just like that. We can always come back over into the spam and recover it or undo it if we want to. So we can say, no, it's not spam. It'll come back into the all, and again, take it from there. So that's kind of a unique thing inside of here. You get to very easily approve and deny any comments that you want. Most of all, a lot of people have issues determining what types of comments are spam and what are actually helpful, because nowadays with the way spammers are getting, it seems like they're being helpful and intuitive inside your article, but there's ways to actually identify that, and I'm going to show you how to do that as well. So outside of that, everything that you need in terms of your blog, in terms of pages and editing, we'll get through more of the pages that you can add in, and the commentary that happens between those pages and articles is all edited right there inside of that. Your media, of course, like I said, is going to be all of the images and additional, stuff that you upload to your WordPress site to host. Okay, I want to quickly show you about the plugins, how to mainly activate, delete, deactivate all these plugins. The biggest thing that I do is I deactivate all plugins at first, just to start off, and then we'll go through and actually keep what we want. But we're going to deactivate, select everyone, and then unselect the ones that we're going to want to keep. And by that standard, that is all of them. So we're just only going to keep Akismet, and that's for anti-spam. And as you can see, it goes through, pops out, deletes them all really quick. I'm going to go ahead and update this right now. You can click by updating, and then I'm going to activate it. Once I activate it, boom, we're off and set. Now I'm also going to go through and give you a quick list of plugins that I love to install inside of my websites and the reasons that I do install them. Alright, so here's all of my personal plugins that I have installed. Akismet, that's free to use. It blocks out all the spam inside of your comments. You know how I was talking about, do you know if this is spam? Do you not know? How do you know that they're not trying to insert, a link inside of one of the keywords and you're just not seeing it? That's how. Free, easy to sign up, quick, takes about 1 or 2 minutes. Go do that. Then I use Quantcast. The reason I use Quantcast is it's an additional analytic outside of Google in which it tracks people's habits so deeply. I know what types of cigarette brands people smoke. I mean, just ridiculous types of information about people. I know my audience sometimes, it's so creepy, better than they know themselves because of Quantcast. That's why I use that. Not always suggested, especially if you don't have a lot of traffic or you're not really that interested in that type of information yet because you don't have a 6-figure business already. Don't worry about Quantcast. Otherwise, that's why I use it, so I can get more determined and drilled in on what people want. Then I use ClickFunnels. ClickFunnels is a thing that I use because I build all of my sales funnels around ClickFunnels. Outside of my website, which is WordPress, all my sales funnels in order to sell all of my products are based on ClickFunnels. I have that currently deactivated for the moment. That's simply because the way I'm hosting all of my funnels. But ClickFunnels offers a WordPress plugin so that you can integrate your WordPress website into your sales funnels like that. Then I also use Contact Form 7. This is the simplest, easiest contact form that you could ever possibly have. There's thousands of them out there. This is the simplest. Outside of that, you can use GiphyPress if you use what is known as GIFs, movable images, inside of your posts. If you don't worry about using that one. I also use Gmail SMTP because I have Google Business. Because of Google Business, I want to be able to use my contact at zach-miller.com email, have people email me from my WordPress website, and I receive it inside my Gmail account. So in order to do that, I need Gmail SMTP. If you already have something like that set up, this is how you actually integrate it, using that. Then of course you want to have a Google Analytics counter tracker. The reason for this is so that you have Google Analytics integrated into your website. Google is going to be the best representation of what you're getting for traffic, where the traffic's coming from, keywords they enter, how they got there, and a whole bunch of other common information that you really need to know. Outside of that, I have Google CAPTCHA or reCAPTCHA. The reason I have this is I don't want to be spammed. I don't want to be spammed, and I don't want to be brute force attacked. Brute force means someone goes for my password, admin, whatever it is for the site, admin. And then they'll try password 00001. Then they'll go 00002, 3, 4, 5. That's brute force. I don't want people doing that. If people are going to do that, I want them to pay in time and in money. And the reCAPTCHA does just that. In fact, it reduced my brute force attacks, which the more traffic you get, the more people try to hack you. It's just a natural thing. Thankfully, WordPress is very safe, so you're blocked out from 99.9% of them. You're blocked out from even more of them, especially brute force ones that, result in DDoS attacks or denial of services, in which you can't get your hosting because there's so many people asking for your website, and it becomes an issue. A reCAPTCHA stops all of that, because then it simply goes, hey, are you a real person? If you are, just simply, click on this and then solve a little puzzle that any human can solve. So that knocks away almost all brute force attacks, all my hackers, in the past 90 days, I probably have to go through it. I've probably had maybe 1 or 2 attacks and by attacks I mean attempts. No one's ever gotten in. That's the beauty of it. So outside of that, I use King Sumo giveaways for viral giveaways. I do that because I'll give away something like, my book, Sales Funnel Secrets, for free, and I'll have 50, 60, 70 people sign up just to get one copy of my book. And guess what? All of those people now became people who are interested in me, about my marketing, my tactics. If you don't have a book or you don't have something to give away or a course, give away, something that's relevant to you. Maybe if you're in email marketing, give away a 1-year subscription to MailChimp or Aweber or something like that. So that's how I do my giveaways. And my giveaways, oh my God, they get me emails for pennies on the dollar. The next thing I use is what's called Snap or NextScript Snap. It's Social Network Auto Poster. And I use that over any other because it has every single network you could ever want. Twitter, Facebook, Blogger, blog.com, Pinterest, YouTube, Google+, Concrete, just like everything you could, app.net, every type of website you've never even heard of too. So it's really good for posting to those things. Outside of that, then I have simple local avatars. That's so I can attach this face to all of my author bios and details. That's the only reason I have that. You have to have it in order to attach a face to something or a picture. I have a tracking code that just allows me to insert tracking codes. I have UFWP. That's because I'm offering online learning courses from Udemy and other platforms, so I want to congregate all those together and put them on my website. WooCommerce is if you want to become an e-commerce store. So this is actually just installing that one plugin and following the instructions of WooCommerce, because I'm not going to dive inside of that. You could go for hours on WooCommerce. But inside WooCommerce, they have a beautiful instruction manual that tells you how to get started and set up, and it's really easy. I did not know how to use it a few years ago, and I decided just to screw with it one time over the weekend, learned it in about an hour and a half, and I set up my own e-commerce store, haven't looked back. So that's how you set up an e-commerce through WooCommerce, and it's all free, all free. They have additional plugins that are premium that can help you market better, but WooCommerce as a base is all free. Then I use WP Fastest Cache. Free to start. I get the upgraded paid version for I think $9 or $20, something like that, 9 or 19. But the reason why is I've done tests between each cache plugin and WP Fastest Cache with the settings I'm going to be giving you. Like I said, I'll cover all of this kind of in the background, how to optimize, how to, do a cache, how to write an article properly. All those things, that's separate from a WordPress website. I'm just getting you through the generics of install these plugins, here's how you do it, go through, yada, yada, yada. The final thing is Yoast SEO. Yoast SEO is what we're going to be using to optimize all of our websites. You can use anything that you want. Yoast SEO works just the same as all-in-one SEO. The difference between Yoast SEO is you don't have to pay for it to unlock all the features that are great about it. Whereas with all-in-one SEO, you do. And with Yoast, it has you really narrow down and focus on one thing. All-in-one SEO focuses you on 3 to 5. It's ridiculous. To me, I'm an SEO engineer. I've been doing this thing for 7-8 years now. I love Yoast. I use Yoast for everything. If you ever want to add a plugin, any of these plugins that I've just talked about, all you have to do is go to add new inside of plugins, type in something like Yoast, and it's naturally going to search it as you type it in. And there we go. We have Yoast. When you want to, you just click on the button, install now. It's going to install it, and then you activate it, and that's it. It's that quick and easy. A repository of WordPress plugins for you that people develop day after day for free and always keep up to date and make them the best that they can be. I mean, you couldn't have ever asked for a better content management system than WordPress, because there's millions of developers that are dedicated to making their websites better by making their plugins better, which are the plugins that you use. So it makes your website better, so everyone wins. And that's what I love about WordPress plugins. So go through those, add those, or you don't have to take my word for it. I have a list that I'm going to give you. Add any additional plugins that you may like or that you find. Let me tell you, there is 1,001 plugins you can have. Those are just the core main ones that I have for performance sake purely, not for conversions, not for accepting email addresses or things like that. There's a million other things you can have for that as well, but those are my core ones to make sure that your website is the best website it can be. All right, this is the Appearance tab. The Appearance tab is where you're going to edit your themes, your widgets, and your menus. Those are the three main things that you're going to be using inside of here. So I'm just going to go over the themes real quick. If you want to switch up a theme, all you got to do is simply click over it and activate it. That's simple. It's going to switch it right on over. 3, 2, 1, done. If you want to delete one, simply click on it, click on delete, you are done. If you want to update it, just simply click on update. You are done. If you want to add a new theme, all you have to do is click on add new theme. Go through the repository. There is hundreds of free ones available. If you don't like free, and I don't like free, I'm sorry to say, all you're going to do is go to themeforest.net / and the other one you can go to, if you want to support me, you can go to zach-miller.com / themeforest. And I think there may be a coupon attached to this one. Maybe not, I'm not quite sure. But ThemeForest is where I buy all of my WordPress theme plugins. I mean, every single one. I love everything inside of here. So you're just gonna go down to here, WordPress. I usually go to the most popular items because the most popular are usually the best built, the most kept up on. They have great support, things like that. So we're just gonna go WordPress popular items. And you're gonna find dozens, hundreds, thousands of amazing themes with great unique features inside of them. So what you can do is just simply highlight over one of them. You're going to kind of see an idea of what it may look like. Sometimes they don't give you that. Sometimes they do. So it's kind of what these things look like. There's that. There's another one. There's Jupiter. I've enjoyed Jupiter. I've enjoyed Avada. I've programmed that one. I've programmed the X theme. Boy, there's a lot in here. Impreza. All these types of themes I've dealt with one time or another. My clients love this website. They always have me trying out different themes because it's a nice split test between, and it's quick to do. It's just boom, like that, to switch over themes sometimes. Sometimes the more premium ones, they have you code a few different things differently, but most of the times you can just switch themes like on the go, just like I did right here. I've switched over themes over here. All right, and say I want to install this one, Robbie Stone. So I'm just going to install it right here. It's now installed. I want to activate it. So I'm going to go back over to Sales Funnel Secrets book. Okay, click into that. And as you can see, that's the new theme right there. Obviously, I'll have to set up a slider and things like that. But if I want to slip back over to here into the 2015, I can. Refresh the page. That quick, that easy. So outside of that, you also have widgets. Widgets are something that's going to be found usually inside of the blog pages. Widgets are going to be something that's on the side of the menu, something like a search bar, recent posts, recent comments, archives. A lot of things that I don't like inside of here are usually comments, categories, because you're just repeating things, meta. And in fact, what I add in is a tag cloud, and that helps you achieve better SEO rankings, believe it or not. It's just a simple thing that still works to this day, is a tag cloud. So I introduce a tag cloud inside of all of my blog sidebars. Then you can obviously introduce things inside of your footer if you want. Your footer, of course, being all the way at the bottom right here. There's going to be something available for people to find. So here I've already updated the widgets. Here's how quickly it updates. So here the widgets are on the left side, 3, 2, 1. There you go. There's a search bar, there's recent posts. We don't have any tags yet because we have not created any posts, so therefore no cloud to create. So now we're going to come over to the menu. We're going to type main menu. Then from there, we're going to add in all of them. Go ahead and add those. Select primary menu. You want to make sure that that's saved. Save the menu now. I'm going to come back over to here. You're going to see a menu now pop up and home blog sample. There you go. So all of that's now available. That's how you create a menu page. Again, all of this is inside of the appearance tab. All right, another thing I want to talk about is users. You are a user. You're naturally the first admin. And if you don't have any other additional writers that are going to be contributing to your blog, then I don't suggest having multiple author sitemaps, usually only one. That's going to come into place inside of Yoast SEO. I'll talk about that later. Inside the user profile, you're just going to start filling out your name and information. So here I am. I'm going to say my nickname is Zmill. That's not really the case. It's actually a little silly from school, but there's that. You can name yourself however you'd like. Here we're going to come to the website. It's going to be, oops. I must be going crazy. There we go. All right. Hi, my name is Zach Miller, and I'm the author of this website. Now, of course, we need to add in a profile picture. That's why we install that one plugin I talked about, so that you can actually upload a custom image instead of having to put one on Gravatar. Simply update the profile and you're ready, set, and done. The next thing that we'll be getting into is the settings. Now, inside of the settings, there are multiple things that you're always going to have. And the more plugins that you install, sometimes some of the options will come in here as a icon, like as big as the posts or media or the pages. Some will be hidden inside of your settings. And this is where some plugins will be hidden, just like Akismet. Here is that. If I uninstalled Akismet, that little bar would disappear, but that's also where we find it. So here we are inside of general settings. Whatever the site title is, put that in. I usually get rid of my taglines. Then I say, do I want anyone to register if they can, or yes or no? Outside of that, my cache level. Usually I want to keep that at normal. Save the changes, I'm done. Inside of here, we're going to have ping settings. I'm going to tell you and give you a little kind of text file. This is going to, whenever you produce a article, a page, have new comments or whatever it is, it's going to ping thousands of different websites so that it gets Googled index your website much faster. You can also change the default post category from here. Say you talk about things in weight loss, you may have weight loss, muscle building, diet, exercise, things like that. So whatever you want your default category to be, usually not uncategorized. You do not want that. Your reading settings is going to be right here. You're going to want to select a static page. Front page will be home. Post page will be blog. And this is how you're going to set up your blog now. So if I go ahead and save those changes, Sales Funnel Secrets book, I come over here. You're going to see now that I have a home page and I have an article page. So if I go to the blog, here's my one article that you read in the beginning, which was Hello World. So outside of that, then we have discussion settings. And inside of the discussion settings, usually all of these are going to be kept about the same. The only thing we may not want is emailing and just simply having a comment approved and not allowing more than one link. Outside of that, you can keep everything the same. I may actually have a gravatar that's generated for people when they comment. And that's about it. Inside my media settings, nothing needs to be changed here. This is all the best settings usually. Now, when it comes to permalinks, you always want to have your post name. The reason why you have your post name is because your post about keyword And that right there, that keyword is what you're going to rank for because it's inside the URL. When you type in something like Tampa SEO company, you're going to find some of these websites will actually have Tampa or SEO or even company inside their URL, and that's a huge factor into why they rank. Here is SEO company. Here is SEO marketing. All right. Here is Tampa SEO company, SEO Tampa. The website is Tampa-SEO. So you can start to see why this is important that you get the permalink settings correct and so that it's under the post name. That's why. We're going to go ahead and save that and we're done. Then we're going to go over to Kismet. Once you get your API key, enter that in, connect it, and you're set and ready to roll. It's that easy. And then it'll start basically putting away all of your spam comments so you don't have to worry about moderating almost ever. And that's all of the settings that you're going to have. Okay, now we're going to head right into Yoast, which is the SEO as he labeled right on the side menu. Any notifications that come up, do obviously address them, connecting to the Search Console here. That wouldn't be necessary since we already have a tracker and it gets our Google Analytics and displays all of our statistics within our WordPress dashboard. So we'll ignore that for now. If you choose to do so, that's quite all right. You can follow the instructions, very similar to the previous Google Analytics that we connected. We can head right into General. And normally you can go into the configuration wizard, but I'm going to get a little bit more advanced and I'm going to head in. Most of these settings, nicely enough, are almost always optimized for your website. It does this as a default because, well, the Yoast developer knew that when he made this plugin, not everyone was going to be tech savvy. They weren't going to be able to often optimize every single thing within their website in a very geeky way, using coding and HTML and even PHP at times. So all you have to do is rename everything, the website name. This is a company. You can upload an image. Whatever that image is, again, your logo, place that in, use it, and we're done there. Head over to Webmaster Tools. You can go ahead and connect your Bing, Google, and Yandex if you want, and that'll help syndicate your information to these networks so that way they can get statistics. And I do agree that it can help increase your rankings because it lets all of these networks see and know a lot more about your website, so they're going to give more credence towards your visitors and your involvement and activity. So it can be a beneficial thing. Then you're just going to make sure that this is disabled. The reason why is you don't want to mess with these types of advanced settings, especially inside the meta. That's not something that is used as much in Google anymore. In fact, it's not used at all except for Yahoo, and Bing is going to soon be phasing that out as well. So go ahead and save changes. And now you have optimized your Google optimization and your Yoast SEO plugin so that your rankings will be as high as they can possibly be when you go in and add your title and those descriptions like I showed previously to each of your pages and articles. Okay, so every website needs a cache, something that will enable it to save pages that it's already loaded before that have never changed, and it allows it to reload this information from already found networks. So again, this cache system will speed up your website so much. It's going to usually cut the speed almost down by half if you have a larger website. If you have a smaller and already quick one, it's going to save, somewhere between 10 and 15%. Either way, this is always something beneficial to have. In a world where we move so quick, the average attention span is 7 seconds, and the average time someone spends on a website is 10 before they leave. And most people, I think it was Amazon that did the review, for every 10th of a second that it took to load its pages for a sale to be made, it ended up losing 7%. That's insane. That basically means, it's not like you can lose everything, but if a page takes, 4 or 5 seconds to load, people aren't just going to hang around for that. It's you got to at least have some data that's loading up front, and then the cache will load the other things later as you scroll down the page. So what we're going to do is we're going to enable almost everything. We're going to preload homepage, pages, posts, and even attachments. And we want to do this at a decent rate, so we're going to do 2 per minute. And then we're going to clear it when a new post is made, and we're going to clear the homepage and the post categories. Same thing again. We want to minify everything, gzip and do browser caching, and then we're going to submit. So basically enabling everything that we possibly can in order to speed up the website. And we're going to bring down those times by quite a bit. In fact, let me go ahead and show you the final things. You can actually delete cache inside of here. So if you want to refresh a new page, you haven't updated it, or you wanted to see if some change was made, delete all this cache. That guarantees that you're loading a fresh website for every browser. Now, you can add rules like timeouts. You can buy the premium version, which I do suggest. I myself have the premium version. It only costs, I believe, $19. And this will actually optimize your images for you so that they're compressed. They keep the what I would consider lossless quality, and that keeps them high, retina, scaled, etc. However you already have them, and it reduces that image file size for what's necessary and the quality and the clarity, and it reduces as much as it can, compressing that image so that its file size isn't as large, which means better loading times. So all of this is done automatically for you, and you get, I believe, it's either 1,000 or 9,000 credits, basically, more than you could ever end up using. I even have moved it over to different websites and still keep on using up the credits, and even if you wanted to purchase some, it's like 99 cents to optimize a whole new website, and you're done for 99 cents. So it's amazing. So okay, there it was. They have raised it, so it's $40 now. It used to be $20. I'm sure you can get a coupon and even get that lowered potentially. Outside of that, you aren't going to really be adding too many rules inside of this unless you want to specifically have a page that you update often, maybe a sales page or a sales funnel, something like that. And if you have any content delivery networks or CDNs, you can connect those here as well. And what that's finally going to do, the last thing is the database cleanup, which is a big plus to have, especially once you get done utilizing all of the defaults, your demo data, uploading templates, uploading plugins, deleting plugins. There's going to be a lot of behind the scenes data that's unused and hasn't been cleaned up. So WP Fastest Cache, its premium version, takes care of all of this and makes it really an ease to be able to speed up your website a lot. In fact, what I'm going to do is show you a test of a before and after in the next video, so that way you can see kind of the difference it makes. I've logged into my back end of my website, and I use WordPress personally. You can use whatever you want. There's a lot of tools that use the exact same ideas that I'm going to be discussing inside of here, but if you have WordPress, I suggest the plugin called Yoast SEO. If you have all-in-one SEO, it works just as well. You don't want to switch up, that's fine. Whatever you have works. All of these tools have the same basic ideologies or guidelines for how to rank an article. And this is going to be a great side-by-side checklist, so that way you can check off and make sure, did I do this? Great. Did I do that? Great. And you can make sure that as you go through, each of these points are hit, giving you the most opportunity to rank inside of these search engines, Google, Yahoo, and Bing. So, popping back over here, I have an article that's already been written because I'm not going to bore you with the time of writing an article. And if you want any tips on writing articles, I highly suggest if you have a smartphone or something like this, or you there's plenty of other things that you even have an app store or something like that. Just download something where you can speak right into the phone and it'll transcribe on a notepad inside the phone what you're saying. So we can come here, have a normal conversation, record that, it'll be written down, and now all I have to go through is kind of edit it from that normal speak tonality that we have to a read tonality. And it does switch. The difference between the way you speak and the way you write, of course, is going to be a lot more methodical in the writing sense, because you have time, you have punctuation, you have all these different ideas being expressed without having that tonality behind it. So you're going to have to, of course, change a few things around. But to make it really speedy, I usually can write about a 400-word article in usually just a couple minutes. It's as simple as just kind of blurbing out, talking about something I'm really passionate about. I can go really fast because I have a great transcriber through Google, and boom, just like that, my article's done. And within another 5 minutes, I can come through, read it, and start putting it into a more digestible format, such as this. So what I suggest is you always have 300 words or more. That's kind of my checklist. And I'm going to also include a checklist PDF for you guys to download, so that way you can just kind of, as you go through each article, just check that off, and be done. And what you're going to end up seeing is, for me, I used Yoast SEO. So I'm going to enter in a focus keyword. For me, it's host a webinar. And I'm going to come back up here, copy the title, because I have to do this inside Yoast. And there we go. And what you want to make sure is when you say something like host a webinar, you want to make sure that's within the URL and the title. So if you're using a keyword, how to host a webinar like a boss, well, you don't want to have host a webinar like a badass. So you need to use those exact phrases as they are written. Punctuation, if there's anything that's kind of off, or misspellings, and that's a good keyword that has some decent phrasing. A lot of these things actually come, I find, within the misspellings, come within physical natured keywords, sports, psychology, scientific keywords, sometimes sex keywords, things like that. If you have misspellings in those types of areas, as they are downloaded from Google Keyword Planner, that's the exact way that you want to spell it. Now you can, of course, if it's host a webinar and it's all lowercase, you can make it uppercase. That's not going to actually change it. But if it says host a webinar, then, and that gets 10,000 searches a month, and people are misspelling host a webinar, that's what you want to use. Host a webinar, not host one, right? So I know this may seem weird, but those are actually great keywords at times, because people do misspell things. I have one site that's dedicated to the misspellings of Fiverr, and I've banked some decent money off of that, because Fiverr itself, which is spelled Fivr.com, I end up having a lot of people that come through with that keyword, Fiver, Fivrr, or Fivver. There's so many ways that it's been misspelled, and I scoop up all those keywords because they're not nearly as competitive as Fiverr, which of course has a ton of branding behind it. So I was neatly able to sweep up about 10,000 searches a month off of misspellings. But I had to make articles around it. I had to misspell those words inside the articles and use it just as is. So that's my advice to you, my 2 cents, is as is. So host a webinar, there it is. You don't want to have it host a webinar, and you don't want to have it where it's index, page, no keywords here. You want to, as much as possible within your websites. It just bothers me so much when someone has a website and it goes, Zach Miller, page2.html, something like that. Whatever it is, those types of websites don't rank well because they don't show people through the URL what you're going to be reading. Well, it's through zachmiller.com, so instantly, bam, I'm branded. How to host a webinar like a badass, free webinar checklist. That gives everything that people need to know about what I'm going to be talking about over the next 300 to even 3,000 words. Now, with that being said, I'm going to come in here Have you ever tried building a large piece of furniture with instructions? It's impossible. So we got to shorten it up, because the one thing we need to do is we need to involve our keyword. Same with webinars. Learn how to host a webinar like a badass. Whoops. And I'm a little too much, as you can see. So we'll just remove this. Ever tried building a large piece of furniture without instructions? It's impossible. Same with webinars. Learn how to host a webinar like a badass. Or with instructions. So that's more of a call to action. This is what people will be reading when they go and they Google something, and maybe they look up, something like value ladder. You look up value ladder. There's a couple of my images. And awesome. So you have things like this right here. That description is what's going to be showing up. You don't want Google to give you an ellipses, a dot, dot, dot. That means that you had too long of a description, and Google will actually count that as a negatory towards you. So you want to keep it within this perfect limit, which happens to be 160 characters. You can either use this, or you can go to charactercount.com. That's another place that works. I think it's charactercount.com. If it's not, you just look up character count inside of Google, and there we go, letter count, lettercount.com. Paste it in here, count it, there we go, 153. So that's what our limit is there. So now we have a keyword, we have our title, we have the slug or the URL, and those all contain our keywords, including host a webinar. Inside here as well, the meta description. You want to include your keyword inside all of these things: the title, the URL, the description. And of course, that's the focus keyword to let our software know, Yoast SEO, what we're using right now, that this is what we're trying to optimize our page for. If you got rid of this, look at how everything, we don't know what you're trying to optimize for. So you have to enter this in, host a webinar. Now I come in here, I add a tag usually, webinar, host a webinar, instructions, and that's good enough. So we'll go with that. And now we're going to come back up here, and we're going to look through a few things that we can improve for the SEO. The readability is something that's a little different, and I'll go through that as well, kind of in a separate section, because readability is going to be coming into play in the future for Google when they introduce, well, publicly, their AI robotic system that they've been building out for the last damn near decade. What we're going to go through is we're going to identify a few things, and here's kind of what I was talking about. Number one, we want a bold, italicized, and underline keyword. I usually make the underline also a hyperlink to another page within the website. So, have you ever tried building a large piece of furniture? Here we are again. We're going to go through. Learn how to host a webinar. The 3 phases of a webinar. So we're going to use that. We're going to come in and we're going to probably give it a heading, maybe a heading 2. So what that heading is also going to come in, and that's another thing that we're going to want to do. As you can see, have an H1 tag, H2 tag, and H3 tag if you can. If it's not always possible, that's quite all right. Just try and put it in where you can. So here we're going to go in. We'll come in here, where to host your webinar, or where to host a webinar. And now we can actually bold all of this, but what we're going to want to do is bold that alone, and that's going to actually create brackets specifically around that. And then we can bold this as well. And now it looks like it's where to host a webinar, right? Where do we do that? That's a big one. So that's a big bold thing right there. Again, maybe I want to have an underline for it, there's that, and I'm including another link to zach-miller.com webinar tips or perfect webinar. There we go. So that's our little thing. Now we have something that's been bolded, the host a webinar, and underlined, and it has an outgoing link. Now we should probably find another so that way we can italicize a keyword as well. So I'm going to put in host a web, and we're just going to go through and find all the mentions of it. And unfortunately there aren't any more, so I'm going to have to put it in somewhere. Alright, so there it is again. When you host a webinar, there's more that comes afterwards. You can also test sending an email reminder at the 10-minute mark for latecomers. Okay, so there's all of that. So we have that, and now we can see we're already up to green, but I don't like that. Green's not enough for me. I like to go over the top, because once you hit green, you're basically at that 80% mark. That's good enough for Yoast, not good enough for me. So I'm going to type in site here, images, host a webinar. This is where I get a lot of my things, and I just edited it a little bit. But here's a great image. I love this. Host a webinar. So I'm going to do this, save it in here. I'm going to save it as my keyword, host a webinar. That's a very big secret that a lot of people don't use. All right. When you do that, it actually is going to then upload to your website with that URL, host-a-webinar.jpg. And then you're going to name it with an alt tag, which is a certain type of text. Let me go ahead and just upload it here. We're going to select this, host a webinar. I'm just going to quickly show you what that ends up looking like and what I'm talking about here. So if I go ahead, insert this into a post, I open that image in a new tab, you see that right there, host a webinar.jpg. And now Google's going to find this, they're spiders, because they see everything. In fact, the way that they see a web page isn't like how we see a web page here. In fact, to a Google spider, it looks more or less like this. Not as pretty, right? But this is how they're seeing everything. And this host a webinar, when you come over here, watch this, host a webinar. This is going to stick out as a keyword to a Google spider, these two things right here. So you're going to be more likely to rank because you have a picture that's named after the keyword. And now when I come inside here as well, again, here's the alternative text or alt text. You're going to put host a webinar there, and now we have a picture that has an alt text and is named after the keyword that we're trying to optimize ourselves for. As you can see, there's a few other things that they're going to analyze and let you know. You can come down here, and one of the hard ones to overcome is stop words. Stop words are a natural thing inside long tail phrases and long tail keywords. You're going to be how to. To is a stop word. A is a stop word. And, but, or, the. Those are all stop words. The reason being is that they're naturally used inside of a question, but they're not often easily used inside of Google search engines because the spiders actually remove stop words on purpose because it can become very confusing due to the logistics of the English language. And there's a whole class I took on this, but long story short, it's better for programmers to get rid of those things than to include them. So if your keyword does include the stop word, it's not the end all be all. It's okay. It's very natural, and it'll be more natural as the world goes forward in the type in your question type of search query world. So here we go. You're linking to another page with the focus keyword you want this page to rank for. Consider changing that page if you truly want this to rank. So it's just saying that I have another keyword with that exact same keyword as well. So I need to be careful about that. The focus keyword doesn't appear in the first paragraph, so make sure that that's clear easily. So what I'm going to do is then come back up here. Ever struggle with how to host a webinar? So there we go. Now we've included that in the first part. We come down here again, and obviously that's all done. Oh, it doesn't appear. I'm sorry. The reason why that occurs is because the image needs to be down here. And now that'll make it the first paragraph. There we go. So no internal links. That's another thing that we'll need. And I talk about this as well. What you're going to have is, you're going to create one internal link. You can create up to 3, and then one outbound link. So one place that I love doing is just typing in webinar. And we can talk a little bit more about what is a webinar. Maybe you don't even know what a webinar is. So don't know what a webinar is. That'll be our link, and that's an outbound link. And now we have an outbound link, which means it's not a link inside our website, but to something that we don't control directly through zach-miller.com. We can still own that website and link to it, but I do suggest linking to websites you don't own, because Google will eventually, they have really great spiders. You can only imagine the type of AI and database collection that they have, but they'll find out if you're linking between your own websites too often, and then you'll get a slap. So with that being said, again, it contains stop words, same thing here, so that's nothing that we can really do. Slug for this page is a bit long. They're saying right here, so we could just do it like that. How to host a webinar like a badass. And now there we go. That dropped off. They say the slug has keywords. All right, there we go. One more stop word. Host a webinar like badass. But again, it has a webinar. That's a stop word. I personally, you can play with it, but for me, I like to use stop words inside. I'll keep that. So there we go. And now another internal link. An internal link means something that's going to another part that we own. So something that I might talk about, complete webinar checklist, and that's actually something we could do. So HTTP, and we're all done. So once we see that, we're going to come down here, and just like that, almost everything's been green lit, and we want our keyword density to be a little bit higher than that, but at least 0.5% is what we're aiming for. 1% is really the peak amount. You don't want to get over 3%. That means you're really spamming or using that keyword a lot, or it's just too generic. Generic keywords don't rank. Don't write keywords or articles around 1 or 2 keyword phrases. Write them around 3 or more. So host a webinar is 3. Now with that being said, we have everything inside here, but as you can see, the readability does need improvement. So what I'm going to do is come back down here, and then I'm going to walk through in the next lecture how to increase that readability rate. Okay, now the readability rate is extremely important in these coming days and ages, with Google really focusing on the idea of an article being easy to consume on a quick, efficient basis. It's really going to be a large portion of the ranking in the future, I see. So readability is of course going to come in that, because basically everyone agrees that the Flesch reading ease test is the best way to determine a readability score that's universally, like I said, accepted. So what is the Flesch reading ease score? Well, go ahead and click on Yoast, or you can go ahead and just do a little bit of Flesch reading ease score. Just type that into Google. You're going to obviously get a long background history of it. The main idea that you need to know is that scores 90 to 100, easily understood by the average 10-year-old. 60 to 70, easily understood by basically teenagers. 0 to 30, it's best understood by university graduates. Now, with that being taken into account, I want you to quickly know right here that my readability score is pretty darn low right here. I have a 59, 60 basically out of what should be 100. So it looks like one subheading is followed by more than the recommended maximum amount of words. That is a huge reason, because people, they kind of like just trim the articles down, and they'll read the first few sentences of each sub or headline that you have. So here I am talking about, it's going to be in a huge title, H1 tag, how to host a webinar like a badass, free webinar checklist. They read a little bit, they come across an image. Great. They read a little bit more, they come across this, the 3 phases of a webinar. So one other thing that we can place here is, you're not done just yet. And now we'll have this as maybe like a heading 4, because it's not nearly as important. And if we come back down, we can click on the I. All right, 3 sentences contain consecutive sentencing starting with the same word. So when we click on that, it's going to highlight those sentences. And as we can see, it's just at the bottom, it looks like. So we'll come down here, and it says you. You can also test sending an email reminder at the 10-minute mark, comma, and should also send at least 1 reminder after. So there we go. Now that raised the readability up to about an orange, which is going pretty good. So what we have here now is one of the paragraphs contains more than the recommended 150 words. Click on the I. You're going to find out which one it is. All we got to do is come right back here. Oh, there we go. And there it is. So now it's already up to a green, and that raised our score just above that 60 mark, so it became readable for the average teenager. Now if we wanted to increase it even more, then we're looking to count or reduce the number of sentences that contain 20 or more words. So all we're going to do, again, click on the I. It'll address which ones that should be. All you have to do, just hit the enter key. You're done. So I'm going to go ahead, do that a couple more times. We have that one, one up here. All right. There's another. There's another. All right. Let's go ahead and find those final ones that we got here. So what we may want to do is, and this has more than 20 words inside of it. Okay, so that reduced it a little bit more. That raised our scores. You can see it's a 62 now. So we're just going to look at maybe a couple other sentences that we can adjust. Okay, so now it's bringing it back up. Like I said, there you go. We could go in maybe a few more. And this may not seem like it's the most interesting, but that's what flesh score reading is all about. It's kind of breaking up the text so it's not so monotonous. As you can see, I have a lot of spacing. Usually every 2-3 sentences, you want to have a new paragraph. Every about 100 words, you want to have a new sub or headline. You don't want sentences that have more than 20 words inside of them. It doesn't matter if you use complicated words, it's that those words are, of course, very easy to consume in the sense of, yeah, this was one really complex, word sentence based on the diatomatic structure of a sulfur molecule or something like that. Whatever that is, yes, those are complicated words, but the sentence structure in which you use those complex words makes it easier to understand. And that's what Flesch scores are trying to really do for you. It's not the complexity of the nature that you're, or the subject that you're talking about, but the way that it's actually talked about. So once you have this, you can hit publish. Now, as you can see, I have a good readability score, good SEO score, and I have 530 words. So this is a pretty good article. This is something that is more likely to rank for host a webinar than almost anything else that is, written just generically and doesn't have a great Flesch score, that breakup, it doesn't have an image that's been named after the keyword along with its alternative text named after that. So we want to follow all of these ideas here and make sure that all of our scores, again, are landing in that green by optimizing for all 13 of these things. And when I say 600 words, it's not that you can't make 2,000-3,000 word posts. They are more likely to rank inside of Google. But for starting out, do be easy on yourself and just try and put out content that's over 300 words and you're at least getting green lights on all of your posts. Once you do that, you'll be a lot more likely to rank inside of Google and of course get much more organic traffic to your website and the products that you're looking to offer to these individual prospects. Okay, so where we're going to start off is probably the most basic and foundational place, which is your research. You need to know what keywords being the phrases that people type in order to find what you are specifically talking about or addressing. So a keyword, for example, if you're within the sporting niche, if you happen to talk about basketball, kind of like I love, then you're going to want to find things like how to shoot, how to dribble exercises. Those are keywords within the sports industry niche, especially pertaining to basketball. However, you don't want to include keywords something like NASA solar launch or, mission to Mars or how to make $1,000 this month. Whatever it is, it needs to be a keyword or phrase, of course, that relates to your industry very specifically. They're just descriptive details. And I know some of you may be thinking, well, Zach, I already know what a keyword is. If you don't, I'm not surprised, and if you do, I'm also not surprised. There's a very wide divide between people who understand some of these little key phrases and what they really mean. So that's what a keyword is. Now, actually getting into how to find your keywords may seem a little hard at first, but what you're going to have to do is get a Gmail account and sign up for an AdWords, and then once you do, you're just going to go into Google and type Keyword Planner. Once you do, Keyword Planner is going to be one of the first tools popping up right here. Again, it's going to ask you to sign in. Once you do, you're going to arrive at this URL. All right, it's KO, Keyword Planner /home. It's going to have a page just like this. It's been like this for many years. I doubt it'll change. If it does, it's the idea of all you're going to do is type in some generic keywords. So, for example, I want to talk more about what I do. I do SEO, email marketing, online marketing. Any of these are just a few phrases that you need to type in, including I'm going to do zachmiller.com, which is my website. If you don't want to, that's quite all right, especially if you have a newer website. I don't suggest doing that for keyword research. There we go. Because what a website's going to do is it's going to populate everything that Google has seen you for most dramatically, which may be things like new WordPress website or new theme or, just your brand name. Whereas when you type in these keywords, they're going to bring up all of the interconnected ideas between email marketing, SEO, online marketing, make money online, things like that. And as you can see, they're sorting by relevance here. So all of these things are showing you your average searches a month. So it's not saying exactly what you're going to get, but you can start to determine, hey, if I were to rank page 1 for advertising agency, then I'm going to get somewhere between 10,000 and 100,000 clicks every single month. Now, that may seem like a really great thing, but in fact, you're going to do a little bit more research and start finding the average competition for these keywords. And if you want, you can either do it through free tools or paid tools. I obviously find paid tools to be the best, but the way that we go about that will be covered in the very next section. I'll just do a quick draft overview so that way you can understand the competition, which is not actually determined right here, because that competition refers to Google's AdWords campaigns. And AdWords means I'm paying Google maybe, as you can see, $9.50 per click in order to get that page one placement. And the competition for people bidding on that keyword is medium, which means, if you bid $9.50, you'll probably rank on the third or second position of page one, which is great, but it can get very expensive. 100 clicks in, bam, you just spent $1,000. Did you make your money back? I sure hope so. So you have to be really agile in what you choose, and it kind of also gives you an idea of what the value of ranking page one is like. If you were to rank page one for advertising agency and you were getting 10,000 clicks a month, if you were trying to pay Google to do that, well, guess what? You would end up paying them $100,000 a month. So you can see being page one for this one keyword can be very valuable to your entire business. But that's not where we're going after. We're not really going to be going after these larger terms because oftentimes they've been heavily inflated, especially in the SEO realm, by other companies fighting or vying for that position. So we want to find usually keywords 1,000 searches or less. These are called long tail keywords, which usually consist of something like how to make money with online marketing, rather than just the online marketing part. See, it's once you get basically over 3 words, that's going to be considered long tail. It's a phrase, it's a question, it's multiple keywords together, and it's that which brings up a specific topic or pain point that people want addressed. And the more that you can write articles around these specific pain points and these specific long tail phrases, the higher your chances are of ranking inside the search engines. So with that being said, let's go ahead and move over, and we're going to just go ahead and drive in a few different ideas. We're going to download all of these. We're going to say yes, download, and that's going to give us 700 different keywords for us to choose from, which is a heck of a lot. And I'm going to quickly go inside this lecture right now and just kind of give you a quick overview of what this will end up looking like and how you can kind of organize it. It'll look like a mess at first. What you want to do is hold the control button. I believe on Mac it's the Apple key, and you're going to want to select everything there and delete these. And what that's going to do is leave you with just your keywords, your average monthly searches, your competition, which actually only refers to AdWords. So again, this isn't what the real competition is. In reality, organically, this would be a 99 out of 100 for competition, but since it's AdWords, again, it's only 53. So you can get rid of that, but keep the suggested bid so you can kind of see a rough estimate of what it would be worth to you to rank page one for these keywords. Again, ranking page one for SEO, you're going to get about 100,000 clicks a month, and if each click is worth an average of what people pay, $15, then, well, you're going to have probably about $1 million business ranking page one for SEO. And of course, that's really is true. There's just a few big companies that rank for all of these huge mega keywords, and they make a buco bucks. So what you're going to probably end up doing is coming more or less down to here, and you see these 10 to 100s. You're going to be finding these keywords and probably going after them. Even some of these 100 to 1,000 keywords are okay, but when you start getting into these, 10K, 100K, 100K, all these, that's pretty big. That's kind of competitive. So again, you want to go after long tail phrases. You want to go after the least competitive, and that's going to give you the most chance to not only rank higher, but the more specific that you are to someone and what they're searching inside these search engines, the more likely you are to convert on that pain point that you're addressing within the article we're going to write. Okay, now I want to talk about the free method in order to check out your keywords and how competitive they are. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to get the Moz bar. You can actually head over and install it inside of Chrome. You need a Moz account, obviously, so sign up for that. It is free. There is a point where obviously they cap you off, but for doing initial research, it's really the best because you don't have to pay for it. And again, you get a few searches for free that really gives a lot of detail. That the paid softwares I'm going to be presenting as well also do, but of course they do it in mass, they do a lot more, so it's more for those people who are like making a huge campaign. Anything where you're going to be using 25 or more keywords, which means you're only going to be addressing one keyword per one article, and that is going to allow you to, of course, have a lot of content to create. So you don't have to worry about creating huge mega lists of tens of thousands of keywords or even hundreds. You just need a handful to begin. And that's what this is all about. So Moz is going to help you with that. And I love Backlinko because they have great imagery and they go through a lot of the things I'm already talking about, which is installing the Moz bar. You're going to see something like this. You're just going to go inside of Google, just like this, type in your keyword, and say my keyword happens to be, you know, like this one, WordPress hosting. So I'm going to come in here. This is what it would normally look like. Again, up here are all the paid ads. This is what people are paying per click. I do that, bam. That just cost editor's review probably $10, $20 just to get that one click. That's an expensive thing to do. But then you come down here, all of these are organic. These are things where they naturally ranked. Again, more advertising here. But this is going to have a lot of stats, and it's going to look just like this. It's going to show you the PA, which is known as the page authority, the DA, which is known as the domain authority, and kind of the number of links that are literally pointing to this page and saying, yes, this page should be ranked because we link back to it and we think it's important for these keywords. And I'm going to explain what a backlink is in a little bit more detail if you're not already familiar with that. But basically, the backlink is something where, hey, I'm going to come in here, recent ranking factors research study. So now if I were to click on this, it's going to take me to another page inside of the website. And now what this is doing is that when this link is found on any website, including your own, it's going to count as a backlink from a unique domain. And that link is of course pointing, and the words that are highlighted, as you can see right here, recent ranking factors research study, is the keyword that is used inside this backlink. So now if I type in recent ranking factors research study, they're more likely to show up in page 1 of Google, Bing, or Yahoo because they have a backlink pointing to this page with a piece of text that says, when you look at this page or you index this page, this is the key phrase that really has to do with everything this page talks about. So, you know, if it's about recent ranking factors, great, that's what you want, a long tail keyword. But you don't want to put something like, this is about WordPress hosting, or this is about WordPress, you know, SEO. It's not what it's about. It's about ranking factors and the research study that was recently done on them. So all of those things is what accounts for why you rank for specific keywords or phrases and why you don't rank for others. Even though your website may be based all around basketball or sports, you're probably not going to rank for that term. What your article will probably rank for is how to dribble a basketball faster, or how to hit a baseball better, or something like that is going to be more revelatory towards your article than just the word sports or baseball or basketball. So it's all of these niche ideas, and the more accurate and acute that you can get towards the key phrase you're going to use and what you're writing on, which is why we need our keywords first, then it expands this idea, and naturally from this being our head topic, we're going to get a lot more to write on. So with that being said, these are what's known as referring domains. Anyone that has a backlink with a specific, it doesn't matter what this anchor text or the backlink text says, it's just this link is pointing towards a specific page or URL. And that is what's known as a referring domain. As you can see there's 59 RDs, or 59 referring domains, which means there's only 60 websites that have probably mentioned this page maybe 20 or 30 times throughout their website in multiple ways. So again, that's a huge thing to take into account. Now, another thing, here it is again, you get to see the number of referring domains, and you can kind of justify what it's going to take in order to rank that high. And the more quality that your article is, the more it's searched, the more it's shared, the more backlinks it'll get, the more it's promoted, etc. And that's what this is all about, is trying to create socially viral content through articles that are easy to read, but most importantly, SEO enhanced. Now, all of these things are going to add up into the Ahrefs link, the unique referrals, the domain referrals, backlinks, referring domains, all types of stuff is going to be in here. Just the page rank, the page authority, the domain authority, and the link profiles are going to be viewable, as you can see here. And all of that's available inside. Not often, but again, it's going to be able to give it for maybe 20, 30, 40 keywords for you, and that's enough because it's free and it gives you a good start. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into the paid version that I recommend if you're going to be doing more in bulk. Okay, now this is a tool that I use called LTP, Longtail Platinum Pro. And what this does is it basically is the Moz tool, but really amped up times 100, because it takes what Moz does on an individual keyword scale and it does that over and over and over again for a bulk of keywords. I mean, like right here I have 866, and I can actually go through, click this little button, calculate, and it's going to do the exact same thing that Moz did for the top 10 ranking sites, but it's going to make it easier for us because it's going to put it inside a single number called average keyword competitiveness, and that's going to be ranked on a scale from 1 to 100. And most of the times you want to try and get a keyword that's 40 and below. That's going to be something that's actually feasible to obtain. Now, is it going to be instantly overnight? No. Organic SEO is something where it comes at what I call kind of oh my goodness, a curve, and I'm forgetting the name of the aperture curve, but it starts out slow and then organically it just really takes off. So you got to get over that hump, and that's by building a lot of articles, having a lot of keywords under 40. And the more keywords that start ranking page one, the more Google ranks other keywords that you wouldn't have normally ranked page one for, page one as well. So you focus on one keyword, and then Google will naturally, as your article becomes more popular, start ranking you for dozens of other keywords around that phrase, even if you've never even sometimes mentioned that keyword inside the article. So that's a really cool thing. It's kind of like the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. Well, it's the same thing here. So if you know how to do it from the get-go, what you have to do right, you make good content, it's only going to help you as time progresses along. So as you can see here, all of these keywords are pretty definitively hard. Okay, now this is a tool that I use called LTP, Longtail Platinum Pro. And what this does is it basically is the Moz tool, but really amped up times 100, because it takes what Moz does on an individual keyword scale and it does that over and over and over again for a bulk of keywords. I mean, like right here I have 866, and I can actually go through, click this little button, calculate, and it's going to do the exact same thing that Moz did for the top 10 ranking sites, but it's going to make it easier for us because it's going to put it inside a single number called average keyword competitiveness, and that's going to be ranked on a scale from 1 to 100. And most of the times you want to try and get a keyword that's 40 and below. That's going to be something that's actually feasible to obtain. Now, is it going to be instantly overnight? No. Organic SEO is something where it comes at what I call kind of oh my goodness, a curve, and I'm forgetting the name of the aperture curve, but it starts out slow and then organically it just really takes off. So you got to get over that hump, and that's by building a lot of articles, having a lot of keywords under 40. And the more keywords that start ranking page one, the more Google ranks other keywords that you wouldn't have normally ranked page one for, page one as well. So you focus on one keyword, and then Google will naturally, as your article becomes more popular, start ranking you for dozens of other keywords around that phrase, even if you've never even sometimes mentioned that keyword inside the article. So that's a really cool thing. It's kind of like the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. Well, it's the same thing here. So if you know how to do it from the get-go, what you have to do right, you make good content, it's only going to help you as time progresses along. So as you can see here, all of these keywords are pretty definitively hard, 57, 52. You know, we can just code through, keep calculating. I'm just going to show you kind of an idea of everything that they've calculated behind this one number, so you can see how complicated it is and how it can really get very out of control if you didn't do this with a tool like Longtail Pro Platinum. So here we have the trust flow. The trust flow is the idea of, hey, for the domains that are pointing towards this website for the keywords anxiety, what is their trust in relation to Google? So Google's kind of like comparing, like, is this website trustworthy? Okay, you know, it came from doctor.com or Macola.com. So yes, if they're citing this source, then it's probably pretty trustworthy. You know, if Wikipedia has a source and it's pointing over here, it's probably pretty trustworthy. So it's comparing all the trust flow of these websites, and that affects the trust flow of the actual website that they're pointing to. So, you know, if you have a lot of low quality websites or domains, it's just going to end up knocking your trust flow down. Same with the citation flow. It's the exact same way. It's how fast you built up your citations, and, you know, were they high quality, etc., which then brings in and increases to the domain authority the domain trust flow and the domain citation flow. So the initial citation or trust flow is for that individual page. Then you have the domain as a whole. All these pages combined, when we add them all up together, what's that value? And obviously we can see for here it is very high. Why? Because it's Wikipedia. So the domain is highly trustworthy, and the individual page itself has been linked to by many other trustworthy websites, which gives it such a high citation and trust flow for that individual page. Now, I don't want you to get kind of glossed over with all these SEO terms, because it's not as complicated as it really sounds. It's just, if the numbers are high, don't go for it. It's that simple. If the numbers are low, say like right here, anxiety disorders, we can see it has a decent, pretty good domain flow, but obviously it doesn't have too many external links here. And the referring domains, there's only 9. And there's no educational government backlinks. So if we got a few educational or government backlinks pointing to our website, we could probably fairly easily beat out the number 10 position here. Now, that may not be forever, because, you know, the bottom positions, pages, or positions basically 6 through 10, they'll kind of change up inside of Google quite a bit. So this page may be different tomorrow. So you have to really focus on these top 5 performers. And as you can see, most of them, 73, 53, 64, 73. That's all of these numbers combined right here from trust flow to site age. It's adding all of this up and putting it out as one number. Then it adds all of these numbers up, divides it by 10, and you have your average median. So again, you have your internal links, indexed URLs, the site age. So all of these sites are over 15 years old or 10 years old. You need to have a domain that has at least 10 years of age in order to probably rank up here as well. You could have a new website that's maybe 1 or 2 years old, but it's going to take a long time and a lot of work to do so. So this is something that you should probably stay away from, because you're just seeing the site age is a little too high for you. And this is why I love this as a paid tool, because again, it takes all of these huge numbers that seem so incomprehensible, and I've been involved in SEO. I have a firm, still run one, and I still hate SEO, but tools that I have make it easy, and that's why we are successful in what we do. We take what's complicated, make it as simple as possible, and just act on that. And that's what I'm doing for you here by the introduction of Longtail Pro Platinum. Now, I don't always suggest that you get every tool. If you want to do more research past 25 keywords, then you should get Longtail Pro Platinum. It's a great investment, and by golly, you could even sell keyword research to companies or even on Fiverr, all types of different places, because everyone needs research just like this. And when you even kind of explain what you're doing through this and kind of show them all of those stats, they're overwhelmed and they just go, wow, I couldn't do this by myself. Thank God I have you. And it takes you 5 minutes to do 25, 30 keywords. Not even that. I mean, I could just go through and while talking to you, you know, click about all of these go down, boom, 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 boom. And then I come back after I've gotten a cup of coffee and all of these things have been calculated. So, I get to go do other work while I'm talking and working on this. There we go. I'm all done. So I come back to here and here we are. And that's why I like my paid softwares over free. But if you have a minimum amount that you're going to be researching, go with the free first. Okay, now I've gotten some really great questions on how to improve this course, and one of them is, what if I don't have WordPress and Yoast? Well, you can actually use Yoast in a variety of ways, no matter what your CMS or content management system is. So you don't actually have to use WordPress to get the advantages of Yoast and all of the powerful features that it delivers. With that being said, I'm going to be giving the link, but what you can do is go up and search Yoast real-time content analysis, and that'll bring it up inside of Google, Bing, or Yahoo, any search engine that you use. But I'm also going to be linking this inside this actual lecture, and I just want to give you a quick idealistic look at what would be occurring. So again, you can edit all of these things as you need. So you have an SEO title. So we can have something like this. Then all of a sudden the text that we're going to put inside the meta description, that can be a little bit more. And there it is, a little bit too long. All right, there we can see that's a good one. So keyword post. And now all we have to do is choose our keyword. So we're going to say, hey, here's our keyword. We can optimize obviously a large portion of some text. Whatever you're going to have inside of here, all you're going to do, just copy and paste it in. And it's going to naturally let you know how the snippet is in regards to, again, the normal text score. It's going to be red, a yellow or orangish color, and then green. Those are the three working ones. Red being low, poor, orange or yellow being that medium or mediocre, and green being good. You can obviously improve it beyond that green as well, but it's just going to keep staying green. So with this, again, this is real-time analysis on the go. Even if you don't have Yoast and you're trying to look for a way to optimize your articles, say inside of Blogger, or maybe you have Wix or a million other content management systems that exist out there, you can now use Yoast in unison by just going to this URL right here. And that's pretty easy, isn't it? Okay, so here's the test that I just ran, unenabling or disabling WP fastest cache. I ran a Pingdom free test from San Jose, California. As you can see, my grade is 84. My load time is 5.16 seconds. Page size, requests. Now I turned it back on, enabled it. Here's my second test over here. 1.89 seconds, same page size, 5 less requests because of those caches. So I just want to compare that. There it is, same grade, nothing really changed except it reduced the number of requests because it served off things that were already preloaded, and then it reduced those page load times dramatically. That is a lot of people who are going to be much, much happier with you than 5 seconds to get your website going. So again, that's why you use a cache, and that's why I recommend the premium version. Okay, now I'm going to show just an example of how I have ranked articles for both short tail and long tail keyword phrases, and on both the different ends of the spectrum. There's a reason I even tell you to optimize your images, your URLs, so that they have keyword phrases inside of them as well. If we look up Soap and Seinfeld email sequences, this actual keyword gets, I believe, somewhere between 150 to 200 searches per month, depending on, of course, what time of the year it is. But that being said, you're going to see me rank fairly high. Not only is this my video that's ranking as well, and it will link back to this URL, but we can go inside, look inside this Soap Seinfeld email sequence. I've opened up the URL, and here you can see it is simply just an image. This image by itself is ranking inside of Google. If we even, I'm sure, went over into images, we would see other images within, yep, there's mine from YouTube, there's mine, zach-miller.com. Again, all of these sorts of things, when they're optimized properly, are going to get you rankings in multiple different forms of the search engines that Google has. Google has a search engine. The organic is separate from the video. The video, of course, being the actual tab video, as well as the separate search engine of Google Images. You're going to have different images that rank inside of here as well. A lot of these images inside are from my website because I have optimized these things so well. And here again, it is just ranking for a normal URL inside of Google Organic, as you'll see right there. So again, all of this is a big portion of why you optimized every little portion of your article that you can, because you're going to be gaining traffic from numerous different areas and places online, and that's what really culminates into an article becoming popular much faster. The final one that I'm going to do is, here's more of a short one. It's Diego Davila. He is really popular on the site called Udemy, and I had an interview with him. There's been lots of others that have done interviews even well before that I did the interview with Diego. But guess what? I optimized mine much better. So within just a few short weeks, I was ranking over everybody else out there. So my videos, you can see, page 1, position 1. The reason I have that is because it's not only ranking inside, and I could show you how to actually rank YouTube videos inside. I may create a course just on that, but there's a whole different thing around that. But I do link from that video into one of my top ranking URLs. So again, they're kind of feeding each other off, so they're going to be a lot closer to each other on the top. And I wouldn't be surprised to see this right here, this organic link, move up beyond the videos, and the videos get pushed down, maybe even only having 1, 2, or just my video at all. And it's because of the optimization and the interlinking that I have that makes that so much more powerful. I'm going to go into the Diego Davila interview. I'm also going to edit the post, that way you can kind of see what it looks like inside of Yoast. Again, this is just, all it is a transcription. I paid someone, I believe it was $15. $15, that was it, to transcribe a ginormously long, look at all this, all that text for me and Diego in our interview, and it was well worth it. As you can see, just people looking up Diego Davila, because he's so popular as an instructor, I'm actually getting somewhere between 150 to 200 searches a month targeted towards just this type of search. So again, it's not that we're getting huge, enormous keywords, they're bringing in tens of thousands, it's that we're optimizing each individual article for a small keyword, and then as that keyword ranks, it's naturally going to pull in much bigger terms that I would call in the Creative Common Cloud. And what I mean by that is that Diego Davila is then going to start ranking eventually outside of Diego Davila interview, right? Or sometimes you can even get as deep as going, you know, this is a really popular, so maybe it's just for anyone named Diego or anyone with the last name Davila. There's things where you're going to start ranking for shorter term keywords, but you have to focus on your long tail first. When you focused on your long tail first, you're going to rank for those much faster, get that initial traffic surge. That's where Google starts saying, people like your articles, people are reading your content, therefore we're going to show it to more people so that we can get a bigger, wider audience for you, and we'll also get feedback on how popular are you? How much time are people spending on your article? How involved are you inside your articles? Are they well optimized? Do they have things that our spiders can find? You know, just like my images, they have alt tags like I've told you to optimize. And then we'll start ranking those as well and pushing traffic to each of those little modules or bits of your article. You put it all together, there can be a big traffic surge from having the right article optimized for just small keywords at a time, soon ranking for longer short tail keywords. So again, we come back in here. The readability, it certainly does need improvement. I could definitely improve that, and I probably will at a later date. What I like to do is usually just go back and optimize everything for SEO first, then for readability second, because most of the time, like I've explained, your readability scores are going to be judged based on, and there's all-in-one, based on that flesh reading ease score. And most of the ways to do it, of course, are to, as it says here, 8 or more paragraphs containing more than 150 words. I get that. And then there's a lot of how would I say, not enough subheadings. Those subheadings are really what makes the biggest difference most times in a flesh reading score equivalency, because you're going to be breaking up that content. The better you break it up, the more readable it is, the more easy it is to consume. Highlight things of what that entire paragraph is about so people can get the idea. That's why you really want to improve this as the future goes on, because your flesh score is going to become more and more important. So again, here's just some ideas of things that I've ranked. You can go to these URLs, you can look up these keywords. I have no doubt that they'll probably always be well optimized and well ranking, because I'm always going to be investing inside of my website, putting up good content for for long tail keywords, and then a lot of those short tail phrases will naturally come to me. It's almost like Google's aggregate ranking algorithm, in which when you start ranking for, say, 10 or a dozen long tail keywords around a specific phrase, that short tail phrase will then also itself begin ranking for your website, even though you've maybe never optimized for it, built backlinks for it, or done any of such optimization for that specific phrase. But since it all has relevance within, like I said, that kind of tag cloud, that Creative Commons, that's what makes these things so powerful. So again, like I said, go ahead and go to these links if you'd like to. You can view kind of how easy my social media posts and everything that I do and share on my blog is simple. It doesn't have to be complex. Optimizing your articles should be easy, fun, simple, and it shouldn't take too much time. That's the whole point of getting leverage when you're a